So, hey guys, Chauzu here. And yeah, in this video I want to discuss about the next new mechanic in One Piece Treasure Cruise. Because in the last 2 years we got a lot of new mechanics in the game. As I've listed here, we've got Super Type, Final Tap, Super Swap, Super Class. And as you see, a lot of these mechanics build on other mechanics. Of course, that's not always the case, but like Super Type is kind of a take on the old Captain Action concept, except for the fact that instead of you can now only use it once, but it's a bit of a stronger effect, while before you could use it several times, but it was a bit of a weaker effect, as well as the color affinity extra damage. While of course Super Class clearly is built on Super Type. Final Tap also a new mechanic, while Super Swap is built on the swap mechanic and gives it a buff, makes it more powerful as well. So yeah, new mechanics, they often build on old ones. So it's basically hard to guess mechanics that aren't based on old mechanics, like if they think of something completely new. I can honestly say that I have no idea what other new mechanics can come, but it's easier to think when you can think about the current mechanics and how can they change them. So basically the question is, what mechanic is next? And personally, I am pretty confident that we'll get a mechanic inspired by Final Tap. And it might be called First Tap. And yeah, as I've written, this might sound dumb, but I think you'll agree that it sounds pretty good once you understand my thoughts about it. Because as I said, mechanics are often built on old ones, and it's pretty easy to build on Final Tap. You just make it so both the first tap and the final tap give extra special effects that can be very strong. Yeah. I messed up there a bit, but I'm not going to re-record the video just because of that. But yeah, first tap will be a natural evolution, basically. A very good thing for Bandai here is that, like right now for Super Sugo Fest, like every unit gets final tap, and that is pretty poor synergy because only one unit at a time can use their final tap. But if we got first tap as well, you could actually do some synergy between the first tap and a final tap, and you could actually use them together potentially. So that will be good for Bandai. Both for the units having synergy, but also because you can release them together and they can work well together with all their kit. Unlike the current situation, like if you think about the first final tap batch, like the Luffy, Kid, Law, their final taps have no synergy with each other. That whole batch is made to not work with each other, which is pretty funny, pretty unique. But yeah, you can only use one final tap, so the final tap can't synergize with other final taps, basically. But yeah, the one great thing with first tap is that it will make the first tap valuable, because otherwise it sounds like a meme, like who cares about the first tap? What good would that accomplish? But basically, right now in One Piece Treasure Cruise, the unit hitting first doesn't do really any damage at all. The only units that counts are the 5 units after that. And this is all about how the chain works. Like, chain is a big deal of the damage you do in One Piece Treasure Cruise. And until you get the chain going, you don't really do any damage. And to get the chain going, you need to hit a good, great, or perfect. Before you've done that, you don't have any chain. The one exception to this rule is actually final tap. Like final taps that have built-in chain of some kind, get that, even if you don't hit good, great, or perfect, which will work very well with first tap, of course, since you'd get that extra chain, if it was extra chain, right away. But yeah, basically this means the first tap, when bursting, don't usually add anything. It's just somebody has to hit first. And this is usually pretty good because it means you can even use non-boosted units on a team, and it doesn't really matter because only 5 units are doing damage anyway. But first tap can give the potential of 6 units doing proper damage instead of just 5. And that's obviously a big deal. Like before, only 5 units can do damage. Now 6 units can do damage. That can be very useful in many situations, even if the obvious one to think about is, of course, super boss. Like suddenly you get one more very big damage hit. And yeah, basically this gives a new avenue to the game to add damage, because yeah, so before only 5 units can do damage, now 6 units can do damage. Of course, that adds potentially higher damage output that you can't get otherwise. But it's not done there yet either, because if we think about how Final Tap works, it's pretty selfish, because obviously there's only the user left to use the Final Tap, so they can't really give any buffs to anyone but themselves. The one exception to this rule is, of course, Luffy Crew, since Luffy Crew relies on what the teammates do. So yeah, Luffy Crew is a bit of exception, and ironically his Final Tap is by far the most impactful, but the other ones are purely selfish Final Taps and give a strong benefit to themselves only. But First Tap can do a different take on this, because sure, you can still give the user itself the benefit to do more damage themselves, but the buff the user themselves get can be applied to the rest of the team too. So not only do the First Tap unit get extra damage from some ability, the other 5 will also do more damage due to that ability. As an example, I've written, say you get a free chain boundary, say that you get an extra 2.5 times chain boundary when you hit first on final stage. So yeah, the unit itself get a chain boundary, but then the chain boundary stays for the whole team. So you get a free chain boundary just by running the First Tap legend, for example. That would be insanely powerful. And it could be other stuff as well. It could be conditionals, some type of normal buff, yeah, you name it. Like there's a lot of potential with First Tap in that regard. Endless possibilities. But yeah, to round this off, will First Tap happen, and when will it happen? And I think it will happen. When is another question, but eventually, sure, if the game keeps going, because Bandai wants to add new exciting things and mechanics. Like for example, like basically since the start of Supertype, I'd argued about Superclass, and I felt like it was inevitable, and many, after a while, started to see Superclass like a meme, like, yeah, that will never happen. But then it happened, and it happened basically as you'd assume it will. The one difference is that they removed the color affinity mechanic and replaced it with extra stats, which was a very cool change, but other than that, it was exactly like we imagined Superclass working. And yeah, basically coming up with new mechanics isn't easy. Like, try and think for yourself a new mechanic like Supertype, Final Tap, swaps versus mechanics. Like, it's hard to come up with new ones. So why not just take the open goal when you get it, like in football, like open goal. If you see that, you tap the ball in, you don't complicate things, you take what you can get. So like First Tap is a no-brainer in my mind, and it should happen eventually. But can it happen for any? The JP any? Maybe. Because new mechanics usually drop for bigger events, but it doesn't have to be the big events. Like, for example, Superclass dropped for the JP 7.5 anniversary. And I've forgotten to mention versus mechanic in this, but that also happened on the 6.5 JP anniversary, for example. But on the other hand, Supertype was the 6th anniversary for JP, Final Tap was the 7th anniversary for JP, and 8th anniversary will bring us the maybe First Tap. Who knows? Maybe something else. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think First Tap will be a good thing, and I think it will be a lot more exciting than Final Tap at least, and probably give more team building options and not just overkill damage that you don't really need most of the time. But yeah, that's the video. It's been a while since I last did one of these. I hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.